Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah. Um, I'm the founder. I'm also the vessel that transmits the mission about the well in the world, which is so aligned with IJS. And Mark, I'm really excited because next month, I think it's next month, we're doing a partnership with IJS for a Rosh Chodesh virtual event we do every month for women and non-binary people to come together. So look out for more information there. Anyway, enough announcements. Let's drop into our sit. I'm here today because it's Rosh Chodesh, which means that it is the new moon and it is a period as Jewish people to look back on the month that just happened and look forward to the month that's coming, set intentions for ourselves, and ground into the spiritual teachings of what's coming. Well, if we look back on the past month, we know that we've just finished our pilgrimage month, 21 out of 29 days are holy days. Tishrei is the ultimate month. We had so many holidays. I don't need to tell you all of them. But it can be quite a whirlwind. Just by show of hands, raise your hand if last month was kind of a whirlwind. Okay, I'm not alone, and neither of you. We all made it through all of those holy days. When we look forward to the next moon cycle, it's the month of Cheshvan. And the month of Cheshvan is rather boring when it comes to holidays. There is one holiday for those who celebrate Sig, an Ethiopian Jewish holiday. But other than that, this is our month of no holidays. It's the only month that doesn't have an anchor of time that we sort of corner our spiritual lives around. And so, therefore, it's called Mar Cheshvan, which means bitter Cheshvan, because Jewish people, despite all the stuff that's happened to us that, might think that we're a tradition of sort of grief or hard stuff, actually, Jews are quite joyous, and almost everything is about leading towards the joy. And so, even the month that doesn't have any holidays is called the bitter month because we don't have a party. We don't have something to be looking forward to. We actually have to take what we promised that we said that we were going to commit to in the new year and then do it with no distractions, nothing to pull us away. And so Cheshvan is the month that captures that sort of like what's the word? It takes us and it holds us accountable for what we said we were going to do. It says, okay, on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and even into Sukkot, we said that we were going to be living more aligned with our values. Well, here we go. I'm not going to distract you at all with anything. Exist in your day to day and be the type of person that you want to be. So, Cheshvan is a month for us to really root in to what the spiritual work has for us. Uh-oh, you guys are frozen. Did I freeze a little bit? Thumbs up if you can still hear me. Okay, cool. Thanks. We know that spiritual work takes discipline and dedication, just like a mindfulness practice. In fact, as someone who's been practicing sits and mindfulness for many years, I will just be the first one to admit that sometimes my meditation practices can be kind of boring and mundane. However, I continue to show up to them because it's cultivating something really important inside of me. And I can learn to sit with that mundaneness. And with that, there's a lot of lessons that happen with the slowing down, a lot of lessons that happen with coming towards our breath. We're going to drop into our sit in a moment, but I'd like to just source some wisdom from this group. You could open the chat and just share a little bit about what are some of the mundane practices of a mindfulness sit for you, and what are some of the gems that come from staying dedicated to that breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out. And I'd love to just hear for some folks about that. Of course, if you're ready to drop into your sit, just go for it. I love asking you all this because it's one thing for me to just say it, but it's so much richer for us to crowdsource it together. I'm a better listener. I have inner calm. I stay connected to my joy and its manifestations, including delight, awe, and heartbrokenness. Increased attention. I relax my shoulders. It helps me with my patience. I'm less pulled, less monkey mind. I can notice what my body is telling me. I feel less distracted, equanimity, more consciousness, spaciousness. I'm less reactive. The mundane are the gems. Beautiful. Well, folks, I think you could just look at the chat and you could see why the rabbis and the divine gave us the month of Cheshvan. All of these things can be true when we are just rooted into the mundane of the practice. We're not distracted by any holiday or commemoration of anything that's happened. We get to just focus on being in the present and aligned with everything that we said that we were going to commit to doing in this past year, this past month of Tishrei. So, with that, let's drop into a regular old practice and gear up for a regular old month. I don't need to tell you all, there's a lot of swirly energy in the world around us. I have a feeling this group of people are all very paying close attention to all of it. Let's let's come into our practice. Allow all of that chaos to swirl around and drop into our breath, drop into our soul and our hearts. Remember that our bodies are just on loan to us while we're here on earth. They're a vessel for the inner life. Ground your feet to the floor. Find yourself in a body that feels dignified. Allow your eyes to close. Allow your shoulders to drop from your ears. Check to make sure that your spine is straight. Let's take some big breaths together to start. Inhaling, open your mouth, big audible exhale out. Inhaling. Sigh it out as we drop deeper into our breath. Big one, inhaling and exhaling. In this practice, I invite you to find an anchor word for yourself. This can be a word that you are repeating to yourself to stay focused, or it could be a word that you say when you notice that your mind has wandered away. Just like a boat might drift without an anchor, so too can our mind. So choose an anchor word for yourself today. Perhaps it's even Heshvan. Use it as a tool to help keep your mind focused on just your inhale and your exhale. And we'll continue with our sit here, kicking off the mundane month of Cheshvan with an emphasis on just our inhale and our exhale. At any time you notice tension in your body, tension in your jaw, your tongue stuck to the roof of your mouth, or tightness in your lungs, first of all, you're not alone. Second of all, I want to invite you to focus just on your exhales. Turn your curiosity up to that and see what can unfold with attention just on exhale. If you notice your mind going down some direction, say, "Hello, mind, I see you. Here's my anchor word," and come back to your breath. In this month of Cheshvan, there's no holiday meal you need to prepare for, tickets to services you need to plan, organizing your family, getting spiritually prepared. We're just in it, in the commitments we've just made. Inhaling and exhaling. And when you notice your mind wandering into something interesting that you need to think about, greet it with kindness, no judgment. You're a human being. Your mind wanders. That's by design. Come back to your breath, come back to your discipline and commitment of staying in your breath. Inhaling and exhaling. And that's the practice over and over and over again without judgment. We're not looking for the next thing. We're not trying to find or figure something out. We're just focused on our breath. In Cheshvan, we're just focused on our breath, focus on who we want to set out to be for 5785. Not thinking about it, just doing it in our day to day. As we come towards the end of our sit today, I want us to place our attention on our hearts for a moment. We can end with heartfulness, mindfully putting attention towards our heart. Imagine someone that you love right next to you. Imagine you and them doing nothing together, just being. Allow yourself to feel warm and loved, giving love and receiving love just by being with this person, not needing to do anything, just being with them. And imagine yourself with their hand on the back of your heart, supporting you in your nothingness. And take some deep breaths, expanding the back of your heart into their hand. We'll do it 3 times together. Inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, and exhaling, and inhaling, exhaling. Slowly do anything else you need to complete your sit today. And join the 201 of us by bringing your eyes up and smiling, giving some eye gazes at other people's boxes, knowing we just did that together. We just practiced our spiritual weight training of just breathing in and breathing out and staying committed to it, staying open to it, and having discipline for it. Chodesh Tov, everyone. I hope everyone has an extraordinarily mundane Cheshvan.
Amen. Thank you so much, Sarah, as always. And friends, let's seal this practice today as we do each day. Those of you who are in mourning, serving a yard site, accustomed to join in the Mourner's Kaddish, you're invited to do so. If so, and you'd like to put the name or names of those who are honoring today in the chat, you're welcome to do that now or after reciting Kaddish. And if you're not reciting Kaddish, we ask that you please stay present for those who are, to create a minyan of support and comfort for them. And thanks to Natalie Rushinoff, who's holding our tech space today, ably, as always, for sharing the words on the screen. If you're reciting Kaddish, I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yikadal Yikadash Shemei Rabba
Amen.
Yoma Divrach Yute V'Yandisha Kute V'Chayechon V'Mechon V'Yidachol Israel V'Agala V'Bizman Pari V'Ru Alim
Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach
Abanavara
V'Olam
Lama
V'Olam
Maya.
V'Olam Yibarach Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yit'al V'Yit'ate Yitadar V'Yitaleh V'Yitalal Shemei K'mashach V'Yichbechach Va'ela Mikol Birchata V'Shirata V'Shata V'Nechamata Aviram Alma V'Ru Amen Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemayim V'Chaim Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael V'Neinu Amen
Amen.
Oseh Shalom B'Mamav Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael V'Kol Yoshei Tebel V'Yimru Amen.
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 Thanks, everyone. I neglected to mention at the outset, but word will be sent out, I think, later today, or maybe it's already been sent out, that IGS will, we're going to hold two special East Coast Eat Time evening sets on Monday night and Wednesday night, bookending Election Day on Tuesday here in the United States. Monday night, Josh Vagelson will be holding space at 8 o'clock. Just some time for us to be together and stay grounded. And similarly, the day after Election Day, I'll hold space on Wednesday night. I guess that's the 6th, also at 8 o'clock. I will put the Zoom link, which I think is not the same as our daily set link, in the chat, but you should, if you're on our email list to get notified, I believe you will get a notice with the Zoom information or where to sign up. And we hope you'll join us. Of course, we'll also be doing our regular set on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and throughout next week as well. So during our usual time at 12:30. Thanks to Natalie for holding our space. Thanks to Sarah Waxman of At the Well for leading us today. For leaving us now. Want to wish you Shabbat Shalom. Maybe a sweet restorative Shabbat. Chodesh Tov. May it be a month that will bring blessings for you here in the U.S. and for Israel and for the people of the Middle East. And God willing, bring us peace, a step towards peace, and all sorts of blessings. Month of Cheshvan. And if you'd like to stay on, of course, we hope you will, for conversation with Sarah or to share reflections on our practice today. So if you have a question you'd like to ask Sarah, just preface it in the chat by writing question, all in caps. And thanks to for sharing that in the chat. That's beautiful. Thanks so much, Sarah. I love that. That was pure Cheshvan. Great.
Yes, we're just breathing here. No
Yeah,
laughing meditation, no
no.
shofar blowing,
Well, that's good
no
too.
thinking
Good
above your
too.
expansive self. I mean, these are other months that we
Everything
do
and
fun
there's
things with, but not this month. We're
everything in its
the
season.
fun of breathing in and breathing out.
Yeah. So, a couple of things first. So a question came up in the chat before we started about why some months have a 2-day Rosh Chodesh and some don't. And I'll just throw in, and you can add anything you want,
I
that
mean, there's not
we're in
all
the
the
lunar
time that
calendar,
we have Hebrew calendar geeks that want to know like the very precise
right?
nature of this. So I
Right.
love this question.
So the
Let's
lunar
jump into it.
cycle, well, we operate according to the moon, which At the Well knows extremely well. And the lunar cycle really has a cycle of 29 and a half days. So when a Hebrew month has 30 days, like Tishrei does, the next month has 29 days to kind of even it out. And Rosh Chodesh is shared by of 2 months. So we're kind of right on the cusp, actually, right? This is actually the last day of Tishrei, 30th of Tishrei, but it's considered Rosh Chodesh Heshvan. So it's interesting. The 2 days are not exactly the same. Tomorrow is all Heshvan. Today is this kind of admixture of Tishrei and Cheshvan, which makes, I think, what you did today with us really kind of perfect. It's really, it's kind of integration or synthesizing or absorbing all that, all of that stuff in Tishrei, and metabolizing it in a way. So thanks for that. The other thing about Cheshvan, which we can maybe reflect on a little bit, is that it's also sometimes called Mar Cheshvan, and that's a little complicated thing too. As I understand it, that name Mar Cheshvan was the original name for the month, um, based on the Akkadian, which, if you play around with it, means eighth month. Um, but over time, the Mar, which means in Hebrew bitter, kind of got separated from Cheshvan and became known as bitter Cheshvan. Why is it bitter? Because there are no holidays, like Sarah said, and also tradition has it that two of the matriarchs died in this month, Sarah and, I think, Rachel. Um, and it's rainy, which is actually a good thing. Um, so for some people, it's actually a mourning period. For people who take it, that's not the actual halachic position, but like some people don't get married in Heshbon. Anyway, so it's this interesting question about Mar Heshvan, um, that it's bitter. So I don't know if you have any take on that, Sarah, about the Mar part, the bitter part?
Just that,
Or not?
like, this sounds so Jewish, where it's like, okay, there's so many different reasons, or maybe
Uh-huh.
it's not, or maybe there's a way to turn it. And so I invite everyone to take a look at Heshbon for
Yeah,
themselves and turn it and turn it and turn it and see if it makes meaning to you for this year. If you're looking for resources, obviously, At the Well has, I mean, not obviously, we produce something called a Moon Manual, which is a
right.
guide to every Hebrew calendar month. It's a free resource. You can go to our website and get it.
Right. Can you give us like
I
a
mean, some,
elevator? Sarah, if I got in the elevator with you on the 23rd floor and was riding down the first floor and said, "Oh, it's Heshvan." Like, what is At the Wells take on the theme of Heshvan? What would you throw at me in
I
general?
mean, pretty much
Anything?
what I
Yeah.
shared. It's just that,
Right.
like, go do your work, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not cool. It's not
Mm-hmm.
anything pretty. It's not like you're dipping apples into honey or blowing some ram's horn or building a sukkah or all these things that like require
Mm-hmm.
just so much thought, intention, planning, organizing, getting people together, meaningful moments,
Mm-hmm.
sacred moments. I mean, ritual, like, I mean, all of that. It's just like void of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that we have, thank goodness, we only have one of those months. And kind of is kind of my take, and I think At the Well's take. It's the digesting of the holiness,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not. There's no Hallmark card for Hushbon
Mm-hmm.
saying like good luck, getting the weeds out. It's kind of like this, but it is so important. Like, we need this.
Mm-hmm.
Humans need that. And when I was thinking about leading the sit today, I was just thinking about my own mindfulness practice and how, just committing to a daily sit where you just show up no matter how you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of feels like Hashbon energy. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you just do it. You just do it, and it's important to you. And then in the commitment and the discipline of just doing it, or having space to have 15 minutes a day to absorb all the things that are going on in your life and just have your attention on your breath, there's, I mean, there's infinite openings that happen as a result
Yeah.
of that time slowing down. So that was probably more than an elevator ride, but I would have just, I mean, it's like no holidays, focus on what you're doing. We're a tradition of joy. So when we don't have, some
Mm-hmm.
7 hour meal to prepare for and to be in touch with all of our relatives, it's kind of like, not that exciting, not that interesting, but it's
Yeah.
part of the wholeness of the month, the totality of the month. If you're looking at all the months together, that is the important month of just absorbing it.
Um, there was a question from Heidi, which maybe everyone can weigh in on. Be interested in here in the chat. Why does breathing work so well? I never learned what creates all the benefits that others mentioned. Um, I don't not meant science. I think not scientifically.
I was about to say we need a scientist
I'm
here.
sure there's a scientific explanation about the
About
impact of,
oxygen to brain
right,
and
just relax, resetting the nervous system. Clearly, there's a physiological aspect of it, but it'd be
the
interesting
vagus
for people
nervous
to
system.
share, people's experience. And it's such a simple thing, that I don't know. I often notice that I have to be, that it's helpful to have a reminder. Like, they're like, why should I need a reminder? I should like that is always available at any moment of stress, just to
I mean,
breathe,
if you're not
right?
breathing,
Mm-hmm.
you're not alive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that's just happening. You don't have to place attention on it,
Mm-hmm.
but placing attention on the simplest thing that actually is your life force.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a scientist and I'm not a therapist and I'm not a rabbi, so quote me just as the CEO of a company, but placing your mind just on that as something that's just happening all the time we take for granted
Mm-hmm.
can feel nourishing. But one thing, putting my mind on one thing, and I'm only putting my mind on the thing that's actually just giving me my life force.
Just tossing in here a couple of the what I don't remember who wrote that they learned that Mar could be meant as Mr. So that this is Mr. Kashvan. It's interesting. And Cheryl shared here that Mar, which means bitter, is also connected to bitters, to plants that help us digest, which is that works really well. Seems fitting, integrating that we've experienced in Tishrei. I love that. That's really nice. And Kashira Haleb apparently mentioned that in her class this month. That's
Yeah, I mean, it makes
nice to
sense if you
bring
think
that
about
in.
it's a harvest
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we just had a harvest time in Tishrei. We tell time by the moon, but we act according to the sun in some ways as Jews. So there's always something to do with planting with us as well.
Mm-hmm. And also a comment here about the exhale, which is said to reduce our fight or flight mechanism to be more calm. Um,
Yes.
I don't know. Do you know the song by Bach Levine, Sarah? May I be empty? You know that? May I be empty? May I be full? You know that one? I
Yes.
thought that's what I was thinking. That song came into my mind. I'll put the link in the chat for people who don't know it. It's a great song. It's a great. I was doing a Spotify playlist or music playlist for Heshbon. I would I would definitely put that song made back because it goes back and forth between may I be empty, may I be full. And the fullness really could refer to Tishrei, and Cheshbon is about this emptiness. Like you talked about it too. The other thing I was thinking about was about what often people say, and you kind of said this at the beginning too, I guess, that people in terms of meditation and stay away from it because it feels more boring. The silence. In fact, actually, another little shout out here. We have a brand new podcast, people, by the way, a weekly podcast featuring meditation by Rabbi Angela Buchdahl of Central Synagogue in New York. Beautifully entitled Weekly Meditation with Rabbi Angela Buchdahl, which you can get wherever you get your podcasts. And the first podcast came out yesterday. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. I mentioned. Anyway, it's about silence, and she starts off by talking about people who are interested in the teaching part of what she does, and then tune out for the silent part when she does it on Zoom. Like if there were people who came on to our sit and stayed for the first whatever 5-10 minutes teaching part and said that's what I came for and then left. But we don't actually have that. It's interesting to me. Like nobody that I know, I don't notice people dropping off after that. Anyway, she was speaking about, people get bored and we are so
Or it's
addicted to
hard.
stimulation,
Or
right?
or it's hard.
Right.
It's hard not to have like it's hard not to have something to look forward to.
Hmm.
It's hard not to have something that you're like focused on planning everything around or anchoring around. And the same is true with the meditation. It's like I'm
Hmm.
not, I mean, I grew up in Washington, D.C. I was trained to be doing something, always doing something. And when I learned about mindfulness, where it was I had to really focus like, okay, what am I doing? What is it that I'm doing right now?
Mhm.
And obviously, Judaism has moments where it's saying, one day a week you're not doing, you're just being. And same is true with the mindfulness practice. And when you're looking at
Mhm.
months in terms of being spiritual anchors for
Right.
a concept to go around, this is the month of being in some ways, of fulfilling just being a human being, not needing to have everything always be focused on task orientation.
It's interesting given what you were saying about we could think about Cheshvan as basically putting into execution our intentions from the holidays, right? Like to start doing so it doesn't necessarily need to be consistent, but like there's like this sense of on the one hand, it's a time for being still and receiving and ingesting and metabolizing the past month. And on the other hand, it's a month for putting the plan, putting it into action. And both can be true at the same time, I think. Um,
Yeah, I mean that's how I think that's that's what I was trying to say.
yeah.
How do you live your daily life fulfilling the commitments that you made to
Hmm.
yourself, to people in your community, and to God that you said that you were going to do for 5785?
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, here's your chance. Go do
Absolutely.
it. Nothing else there that we're sort of measuring your impact on, just the day to day. I saw we have
Um,
some more questions about like the
yeah.
history of language of some of the months, and I saw
Uh-huh.
Natasha put it in twice. So I just want to say
Okay.
that um,
I missed that.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's there's some stuff on At the Well's website. The months come from Babylonian influence, Persian influence, and post-exile influence. Um, I think I don't have a book off the top of my head that I could lean you to, like point you in the direction. You could certainly email me, and I can give you some different websites to check out. But that's my interest is more in the spiritual aspects of them. Of course, names are associated with that, but I think the names are also very evident based on history and where the Israelites and Jews were at certain times, and influences that were going on in society around that. The Babylonians created the zodiac, which is obviously very popular still to this day,
Hmm.
even if the
Hmm.
Babylonians don't exist as a people.
Hmm.
We are
So the
all
sign
aware
for
of the
this month,
zodiac.
I think, is Scorpion. I read.
Ah, this you're
You don't know?
putting me in the spot. I don't actually know off the
That's
top of my
okay.
head.
That's my understanding. I don't know what to make of that,
Let me get
but
back to you.
that's all right.
But they're
That's what it is.
connected.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities between
Yeah.
zodiac and the Hebrew calendar. They were made at the same time, and they were our neighbors. So yes, Scorpio and water sign, and it's like again, it's really associated with the Hebrew calendar about water and this month and rain that we've just planted. And on our moon manual, you can learn about the spiritual elements of water associated with Cheshvan again.
Right. All right. Fantastic, Darren. I put in, by the way, another song that fits with Sarah's teaching today, Just Breathe by Eddie Vedder. That one's done
Mark,
by,
before we jump, I want to make
yeah.
sure that we get
Yes.
this right because actually I was right. Next month on December
Yes.
2nd,
Kislev.
we're
Hmm.
doing Kislev, Rosh Chodesh, IJS, and At the Well. So for women and non-binary people, if that's you or you know someone who might be interested, send them our way. We're going to have something really sweet
Okay.
together online. And so
That's
shout out to this
awesome.
community. You'll get Mia and Jenna and all the IGS teachers all in one spot. So it will
Yeah.
be a really sweet time.
Yeah. I think that's Miriam
Um,
Margles and Rebecca Schissler and Kashira. Wow. That's going to be amazing. All right.
yeah.
Um,
Thank
thank
you
you for
everyone for
sharing that.
having me and for sitting and for having a sweet Cheshvan. Um, I was like struggling to be like, what's the like aha moment and like spiritual awakening thing that I could descend on people. And then I remembered all it is to just be present
Hmm.
in this month and to be conscious of who we say we want to be and just anchor into our breath. That's the spiritual teaching of the month.
Simple, but not easy.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Natalie, thank you so much for holding our space today. Thanks to each of you for being here. Wishing everyone Shabbat Shalom, Chodesh Tov.